The depths of darkness. In the quaint village of Invermere, nestled on the shores of Loch Ness, legends surrounding the infamous Loch Ness Monster pervaded the lives of its inhabitants. It was a place where history and folklore intermingled, and the shadowy waters of the loch concealed countless secrets beneath their surface. For most, the tales were simply bedtime stories, but for 13-year-old Ella Campbell, they felt all too real, particularly as she recently moved to the village with her family. With her fiery red hair and curious green eyes, Ella was no stranger to adventure. The move had been hard, leaving her old friends behind, but the thrill of exploring the land surrounding one of the most famous lakes in the world ignited her imagination. Excited to find the monster that the world deemed mythical, she often embarked on little quests down to the shores of the loch, armed with nothing but a notebook and her camera. It was a deep autumn evening when Ella felt the chill of an ominous change in the air, the type that makes the hairs on your neck stand on end. The wind whispered through the trees as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with shades of purple and black. She abandoned her cozy thoughts of warmth and home for the allure of the loch, drawn by an impossible urge to unravel its mysteries. As she approached the water's edge, its dark surface shimmered with a strange luster under the waning moonlight. Ella felt a mix of excitement and fear, but the thrill of potential discovery pushed her on. Maybe tonight is the night I see the monster, she thought, her heart racing. As she feverishly took photos of the rippling water, she noticed something large moving beneath the surface, a silhouette stirring the dark depths. It seemed to swell and shift, a colossal shadow gliding effortlessly. Could it be? She gasped, breathless with disbelief. She leaned closer, the frosty air biting at her skin, her heart pounding like a drum. And then it happened. A loud splash echoed across the stillness of the loch. Ella stumbled backward, fear gripping her guts. A low growl resonated from the water, distinctly alive and primal, sending a jolt of adrenaline through her veins. The surface roiled again, the silhouette emerging closer to shore. Against her instincts, Ella stepped closer, driven by sheer curiosity. Then, straining her eyes against the darkness, she finally caught a glimpse of it. A long neck emerged from the gloom, crowned with a head that bore sharp features, eyes like twilight, dark and knowing. Ella stood frozen, utterly entranced yet terrified. The monster was no longer a mere figment, it was real and alive. But before she could react, it plunged back into the loch with a thunderous splash that sent waves crashing against her. Ella stumbled back, her heart racing uncontrollably. She turned to flee, but a sharp sound from behind made her freeze. Something was breaking through the reeds at the edge of the loch. The same growl she had heard moments before now sounded closer, almost behind her. She spun around, eyes wide, and saw the creature emerging once more. It was larger than she had imagined, scales glimmering under the moonlight, muscles rippling within the powerful body. Fear coursed through her, paralysis gripping her limbs as the creature stalked toward her, its massive presence shimmering in the half-light. Suddenly, she remembered a crucial lesson from her days back in school, the importance of not running from predators. She stood firm, reminding herself to breathe, and captured the beast in her camera's lens. The flash startled it back momentarily, giving her just enough time to bolt in the opposite direction, pounding through the woods toward her home, heart racing and lungs burning. Breathless and wide-eyed, Ella burst through the door, slamming it behind her. She locked it with trembling hands, leaning against it as if it offered her safety from the terror outside. That night, she couldn't sleep. Shadows danced on her walls, and every creak of the old house sounded like footsteps. The images of the monster flooded her mind. What had been a simple curiosity had now morphed into dread, and she feared for her life. Every whisper of wind outside felt like the brush of the creature's breath. Months passed. Weeks. Ella didn't speak of her encounter, burying it deep within her, hinting only to her parents that she wasn't feeling well. The loch, once a place of allure, had transformed into a murky symbol of fear, a reminder of something she could not comprehend. Then, one fated afternoon, as rain poured like sheets from the sky and engulfed the village in a shroud of gloom, she felt the unspeakable urge to return to the loch. With each step, dread mingled with a strange pull that beckoned her back to the darkness that once thrilled her. The tranquility of the water beckoned her. This time, she felt the creature's presence before she even reached the shores. As she stood there, Rain drenching her, shadow and abyss merged before her eyes. She waited, heart hammering, and soon, the break of water signaled its return. Yet, something changed. The creature's growl was no longer hostile but mournful. The depths of the loch resonated with a sense of deep loneliness. In that moment, Ella understood. The Loch Ness Monster was not just a monster, it was a forgotten soul, trapped in the water's embrace, an eternal guardian of whispers and shadows. With a soft acknowledgement of their connection, Ella whispered, "You are not alone." As if the weight of her words reached the beast, it let out a haunting yet melodic call, cutting through the storm. And then, with a final tremor of the water and a single glance back at her, the creature slipped beneath the waves, finally at peace. Ella stood, watching the ripples spread, knowing she had not only faced her fears but awakened to the secrets that lay beneath the surface, both in the loch and within herself. Thus, the legend of the Loch Ness Monster lived on, and so did its guardian, a bond of understanding carved from the depths of darkness.